Welcome back Stalkers, update 1.6 for Stalker 2 is out, and as always I went through it in detail to see all of the latest changes and additions to the game. This update is one of the more important ones because it finally introduces night vision into the game. This has been a long awaited feature because nights in this title can be very dark and the flashlight is not the greatest, so even for B-roll itself in my videos I just avoided it and kept the, day footage. But now with different generation of night vision, you can have a much easier time navigating through the zone itself. You equip it right on your attachment slot and you can use it regardless of what armor you have on. On PC you hold the middle mouse button to equip it because, well, it also allows you to tap the button for flashlight if you need more light. I mean, I'm really happy that this was added as it changes the way you play and allows for much more freedom, and we are one step closer to having most of the features from previous games in this one as well. Besides that, they added offset aiming and a laser pointer for more weapons, as you can now be more tactical about your approach and how you do it. Night vision also influences combat and NPC detection, meaning that during the night if you have NVGs on and you don't use a flashlight, you can get really close to an enemy without them seeing you, unless they have NVGs as well, which I think is more immersive and makes sense. Although when enemies lock onto you and basically aggro you, in most cases they will know where you are even if you lose their sight. At least that was my experience. I also noticed that their aim is now much more realistic, at least in the fights I had, where they were actually hitting more objects around me, taking into account they are shooting almost full auto, so there is no way they can control the weapon that well, especially if it's a lower tier 1. But again, if you don't use cover, in most cases they will still be able to be precise and knock you out very quickly. A lot of that has to do with them taking better covers as well around the trees. They won't be exposed as before, at least in 80% of the cases that I experienced, but some still do make mistakes, which is realistic I guess, but for some I kinda doubt that this is intentional behavior itself. When it comes to combat with mutants, boars now have more HP while pseudo giants have less, and also now when you jump, when he does a stomp attack you won't take damage anymore, which was the case before this update. Also, Chimera behavior was improved to not spaz out around you but be more calculated, because it used to get stuck after jump attack and it was even jumping through objects itself. It's honestly a shame I couldn't recreate this bug because mutants around me and in my playthrough are always locked in fully to wipe me out. At least now bloodsuckers also won't stay permanently invisible when they don't attack and they hide, which I thought was intended, but apparently it was a bug, so it's easier to spot him hiding if you find good vantage point to shoot. Also, pseudo-dog clones won't get stuck anymore if they spawn during a retreat actions, as well as Buerers and poltergeists are now able to use their true ability as it was bugged as well. NPCs can now also loot mutants, so watch out if you fought them and some wandering stalkers appear, they will most certainly go after to loot it. New Anomaly Fireball was added into the game. Be careful around this one as it pretty much one-shots, but also it's attracted to artifacts on your belt, so remove them to safely explore and loot in the area. At least I wasn't having problem with it, as you can see in the gameplay. Pretty cool, they're actually adding more and more. Patch 1.6 also features a returning character, Gonta, a stalker from Call of Pripyat game. I won't go into detail about spoilers or where to find him, it's easy to check, but definitely, check him out as they also added a new unique weapon, or well, his weapon called Rahunka. I honestly did not expect him to appear, wasn't even on top of my mind when they initially announced a returning character, but maybe this is a start of them bringing more of which could have survived the previous games. When it comes to balance part of the patch, they have fixed an issue where mercenary light suit could weigh 0 kilograms after upgrades. Now also weight of the veteran's rifle was adjusted, as well as the increased damage for the Predator shotgun. Another huge change for me was that stashes have been adjusted, meaning that you will find a lot more items in it now and more diverse items, so not just vodka and bandage but now more ammo as well as attachments. This also goes for looting stalkers, as I noticed they now carry a lot more ammo than they did before, most likely because A-Life is working a bit better now, so they fight with other stalkers and loot them as well. It's just now in 1.6 I noticed it's a lot more visible than before, because in previous updates they did not have this much ammo or items. Speaking of general bug fixes, a lot of this patch went into optimization and performance tweaks for CPUs. Projectile performance has been optimized, as well as some of the crashes which occurred before are now fixed. Personally, I haven't had a crash in a while, but I am sure that this is more missions related, as going actively through the campaign before, I noticed I had a lot more crashes than, going through free roam itself. They also worked on managing freezes in different locations like 100 rats bar and during some missions like wishful thinking. Personal experience has been that now entering some base or HQ doesn't really drop my frame rate as before, as the game tries to load in the UE5 metahuman NPCs, which can be somewhat demanding, especially in higher numbers. This can be seen now during benchmark, where utilization is fine. I mean, similar to how it was before, but frame rate is somewhat more consistent in less populated and more populated locations. Being that this is 1440p on 3070 Ti, I'm impressed that it can run like this, as I expected much worse results. DLSS has to be on, of course, but overall it's shaping up to be a more smooth experience. But look, it still has its problems. This patch won't magically just increase your FPS, but will rather make huge oscillations happen less. Engine upgrade that is announced still hasn't happened, which is expected, but it will be very interesting to check it out then and see how it performs compared to this version. Speaking of main and side missions, because there is a lot of them which can be big spoilers, which I want to avoid in this video because a lot of people who want to go back into the game and haven't finished it usually watch it. I will try my best to explain it, but for full patch notes you have the link below. They went through a lot of major missions and fixed them, which, at least from my comments on previous videos where, mostly people said they had this bug here and that bug there, well, those are sort of bugs I'm actually seeing in these patch notes, which is really good. So if you were actually leaving those comments previously, I would suggest reloading your save and seeing if it's actually fixed now. I tried recreating some bugs from these missions and they didn't happen, which is a good sign. Only this one, where they said they fixed the issue of stage not completing after killing all bandits during answers come at the price mission. Well, that problem I did have once only, and when I reloaded again it seems it was fixed. As always, general textures and art has been improved as well, which is the case with previous updates as well. For other changes, they have tweaked controller inputs. I don't use it in the game, so I cannot really tell you the difference. They also added new face and hair options for female characters alongside auto lean disable option in control settings, which is honestly a very welcome addition to the game. Player stash itself can also be sorted now, although it always seemed to auto sort when you leave it and come back, but now you can actually navigate more easily around items, and I'm sure this can be still improved and expanded so it's even more visible and, well, easier to navigate, but for now this is pretty much in line with previous STALKER games and they're making good progress. They also added save backup restoration option, very useful if you mod or even just want to protect your progress, but I still think that having a backup for the folder with your saves is the most secure way. Put it on a drive or upload to the cloud. It will be safe there and you don't actually have to rely just on cloud saves within platforms. As usual, more UX improvements, adjusted positions on the hood to make more sense, and more icon improvements, pretty much them shaping up some assets which they didn't like before but probably wasn't really high on the change list during development, so now they have more time to do it and change them. For the end, mod support has seen improvements. Overall, I'm really happy with how mods work in this game now. If you use it in the game itself, like just that, mod manager, it's really easy to update it once you try to load up your save, or remove those mods when patch like this drops so you can play while modders update those mods. This also does depend on how many mods you use. Compatibility between different mods for STALKER is still not the greatest, but explore and find ones where you can fine-tune your gameplay experience. In case you are worried about not getting your achievements, there is also a mod for that, so don't worry. My impressions of the update so far are positive. They're adding what community has been asking for. Binoculars are still not a thing, but those will come. Again, I think one of the problems might be with LOD and how it works if you zoom in on stuff. I mean, you can see with scopes, for example, used for weapons, how short they can be, and you cannot really zoom in all that much or at all. Another thing I would like for them to add is the ability to choose how long I sleep, like in previous games. I really don't like this press F to sleep and then wonder when you will wake up, and it's still not when I wanted to actually go explore or just go on a quest. And as they are slowly approaching to Stalker 2.0 version, which I'm sure will be, actually the case, I think that will be the point where I see a lot of people coming back into the title itself. But to be honest, if you played only on release in the first week and never since then, right now you will have a better experience. It still has some way to go, but you have much more visible stuff like NVGs and so on, which actually result in a better gameplay experience for you. I'm also getting less and less random spawns of enemies around me where I know they were not present, but I'm sure as it was with previous updates, these situations can still occur. But overall, when it comes to that experience itself, I think it's much better and it's getting more refined. But it's going to take, well, I think a few more updates until a life simulation is actually fully working. And with this, I will end the video. Had a lot of fun with this one. Hopefully you enjoyed this video as well. If you did, consider liking and subscribing for more. Join our community on Twitter and Discord, and huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters. I will see you soon with a new video, and for now, get out of here, Stalker.